Pittsburgh, 1902. Three Rivers City, City of Bridges, Steel Town. Also the same year that Scott Joplin composed The Entertainer. What this has to do with any of this video doesn't make sense to me. I just found it fun. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you a storyteller version of Ben's Rack of Junk. The thing is that when I was a kid, my great aunt Eleanor had a case of just collectibles, dolls and whatnot, Indian dolls and different things. But the one I was intrigued with was she had like a hillbilly doll that had a triple X bottle and a crazy hillbilly hat. It was a collectible from the Appalachian Mountains, and for years and years I was obsessed with that doll. And after about 5 years, Aunt Eleanor actually pulled it out and gave it to me. And I was very impressed. I thought, well, it's just a toy to me, but it was meant much more to her. So I was really impressed. So, as I said, this beginning has nothing to do with anything, except I thought it'd be fun. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to my rack and explain all my collectibles. Enjoy. And here we go. Storytellers of a bunch of bullcrap that nobody really cares about. But I have a rack of stuff that was mostly gifted to me or given to me and been sitting in boxes for a year or so. So my daughter, after she got her Michael Jackson doll, she wanted to put it up on a shelf. So I decided to pull everything out, rearrange the shelf, and now I'll explain what each individual thing means. Okay, so here we start on our first rack. Well, our first rack is hats. And they are beautiful. And then we have the Beatles Yellow Submarine McFarlane characters. And we have a Schlitz can, but don't be deceived. The Schlitz can is weighted properly as a full beer, but it's also a safe. You can take the top off, and that's where I used to keep my weed. I don't do that anymore, so it's just a iconic thing. So we have the Blue Meanie. We have Jeremy. We have, let me see here, John, George, Ringo, Paul. This was gifted to me. It was a gift, a Blu-ray set from the Woodstock, limited edition, and it came with a patch and this kind of groovy Woodstock, I don't know, fringe thing with a, and this pyramid here is from the Carnegie Museum. I bought it for my son when we went there, and he really had no interest in it, but so we have the Yellow Submarine. And then we get over to here. We have the Indiana Jones canteen that my son saved cereal top to get me. And on top of it is the bracelet that Angela made for Heather's funeral and gave out to everybody. Beautiful. And there is the love glove. Down here in the Capri Sun thing, my son gave me some Spider-Man cards as a birthday gift. And we have a $1 coin. It's also my son's. And last but not least is my collectible Ultraman doll that was given to me. Some guy who was affiliated with a lot of he was mixed up in trading records and you know, horror stuff and sci-fi stuff, and found me a Ultraman doll, which was part of my youth. We'll move down to the next rack. Pardon me for my shaky. This is the Steeler rack here. We're gonna go back and forth. This is from Aunt Leanie, Ben Roethlisberger, I think 07. These limited edition Myron Coke cans that I drank all the beer, but you know, have things like Okodoko and you know, from the 70s and 80s and 2000. You know, old Myron sayings. I miss that guy, you know, ha, and stuff like that. So back there, here, we have a beer koozie on top of, my son went to his first Pittsburgh Steelers game and brought me back this souvenir. You put it on your hand, it says Steelers #1, and have some helmets, whatnot, cards. Alright, this was something my mom gave me for Christmas, and it's a, see if I can pull back here a little bit. It's a Hall of Fame thing for Franco Harris. On top I have Jerome Bettis' rookie card, and since he's now in the Hall of Fame, I decided that would be appropriate. I have a John Stallworth bobblehead. It's not bobbling as it should have been. Then I have a Jerome Bettis doll, and I have a ticket for Green Bay Packers and Pittsburgh Steelers game that my mother attended. Behind Jerome is a 24 karat gold card from Super Bowl 40. They had a limited edition of those, and behind that is the Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl champions, and that was maybe put out in 1982. I stole it from Harmer Library, or never returned it. It's actually a book from school. And so, moving down, easy Stallworth, easy. We're gonna move down to a more musical rack. And so, here we have this rack This is my daughter's favorite. And we're just going to go glide across it. And here we have Hank Williams Jr., a little tin. Probably the best songwriter, creator, and biggest influence, maybe outside Chuck Berry for rock and roll. And here, this is hilarious, is that we have a John Lennon doll. And when we exchanged gifts at Christmas, I had bought one for Josh, and Josh had bought one for me. And behind him, we have a Dylan book. And we have the Michael Jackson doll. The thing is that I let Eva take all these things off the shelf and play with them as she likes. I know it's not the acceptable thing, but he has all his outfits there. Beat It. Behind there's Billie Jean. Grammy Awards. And then the book behind him is a limited edition Prince book that comes with a DVD or CD, I'm sorry. And then, of course, to our right, from the '68 comeback special, Elvis Presley. And there are actually 6 strings on the guitar. I'll try to get close. And there's his watch with the leather bands. And behind him's a Michael book. So we have the king of rock and roll, the king of pop, one of the best singer-songwriters. The cool thing about this is that this is not the original guitar he played on his '68 comeback special. He actually started out with a, I want to say an EJ 200 Gibson. I don't know the numbers there, but his lead guitarist Scotty Moore was playing this Gibson here, which actually has kind of a Fender type neck. Usually Gibson does 3-on-3, so it's kind of a hybrid type thing. It wasn't B.B. King's guitar or anything like that, but Elvis, being the king, didn't. His acoustic was a little too low sounding, a little too soft sounding, so he just stole his Scotty Moore's guitar, gave him his acoustic, and he's only a fraction of the guitarist that Scotty Moore was, but hey, he's the king. And now, down to the bottom shelf, we're still working on it. I have many collectible magazines. When you're from Pittsburgh and you're a Pittsburgh fan, you get a lot of championship magazines. But so what we have here is the greatest athlete of all time, the greatest boxer of all time, Muhammad Ali. And behind him is a Schlitz, something you can put on your coffee table. And that below him is actually what you would put on a tap. And so here we have the Men's Fitness Ali special, and below that we got the greatest, and all kinds of sports magazines, all the way up to music magazines. And then on this side we have, of course, our our hockey franchise. And I'm going to have a Mario Lemieux doll that will be to the other side here with the penguin stuff. And this is total garbage. But I just wanted to, I don't know, waste a lot of time, bored, and I had to rebuild this rack because it had shelves, so I had to build up, get the space so that I could put the taller dolls and whatnot in there. And it's the most ridiculous rack anyone's ever built, but hey. Okay, so that is storytelling on my rack, and let's just take back to the hats. And this specific hat was given to me by Aunt Leanie's husband Dan, and it's kind of an old hat. It has some moth biting on it and whatnot, and he just let me try it on, and it fit real well, and he said, "It's yours." And so some of these other hats I bought over the years. Oh, and we can't forget, there are only 3 of these in existence. From my former job at Miller Equipment, we used to get these, it's called Duraflex. And what it is a harness, okay, or harness material. And these, there's only 3 of them in the world. One belongs to me, one belongs to Rick Schmidt, and one belongs to Uncle John. And Schmitty, he did the sewing and hooked us up with these things. And I actually have another one that there's only 2 in existence. So these are probably the most limited of my collectibles. And if you were to fall off a cliff and your guitar strap would catch you, it would have to be more than 7,000 pounds of weight before your guitar strap would break. Now, of course, your guitar would break and you'd die and you'd fall to your death, but do not blame it on the guitar strap. And, all right, that's my edition of Ben Leahy doing storytellers of my big rack of crap. I hope you enjoy this, and much love to all my family. Goodbye.